To build out this header component in terms of its design, we're going to break it down into two pieces. So firstly, on the left, we have the background image, and on the right, we have another box which contains all of our text. So we're going to have one big box. We'll make it a div element, and then we'll have a left box and a right one as well. So inside of our header row here, let's put some space in at the top, and we're going to say here we have our header. Then we're going to have our header image and our header content. So for our header, we're going to contain this inside of a div element, and then our two other boxes are going to go inside of there. So our header image is going to be a div as well, and our header content also. So how can we go about making it so that we have this box on the left, and this box is going to take up the full height of the viewport. It's going to take up 60% of the width, and we're going to attach our background image onto it. Well, the way that we can do it is by using a combination of tachyons with a bit of flexbox and also some helper classes to position that background. So let's firstly start with our grid. Now, built into tachyons, they have the ability to create grids. So their grid is broken into 10 columns, but it also works in quarters, thirds, and halves as well. So when we apply these class names, so if we use a class name of W-60, it's going to take up 60% of the width available. So W-10, 10%, W-third is going to take up 33.3 recurring percent, and you get the idea. So this is how we build up grids. We use these width classes to tell our elements how wide they need to be. So what we're going to do with our left div here is we're going to say class width 60, and we're also going to give it a min height of 100 VH. So with our hero, if you cast your mind back to earlier, we had this min VH 100 class. So if we refresh the page, you can see nothing's actually changed yet, and that's okay. What we're going to do is to add a background color on there, so we'll say background blue, and you can see we now get this box. So currently our content is in the wrong order. I need to remember to put my header above the text block and just update that. So this is the idea of what we're going to have. Now, to get our boxes side by side, what we need to use is Flexbox. So this first example here, it uses Flexbox, where it has a few different boxes which have a width of 25% each. So we have 4 boxes. They have some padding on all sides of 3 and a margin on the right of 2. So we're going to do a similar thing on our parent element. So on this div here, we're going to add a class of Flex. Now, with this div, we don't actually need any content inside of there because it's going to be a background image. So we can take this header, we can remove that for the moment. What we're going to do is similar to earlier where we had our style attribute, and this means that we can hard code on some CSS styles. So if we said, for example, background color, we could make it red. You see, it now gets made red. So writing these inline styles, as they're called, onto elements overwrites anything you have in the CSS. So something just to be mindful of when using these inline styles. They're a bit of an escape hatch. You don't want to be using them unless you have to. In our case, we have to because we want to apply this background image onto our element. So let's go and do that. Now, the way we're going to do it is we're going to do a bit of a copy and paste job. So where we have this style equals and down to this closing quote at the end here, copy that, and we're going to put it between these quotes here. Now I can do a little bit of cleanup just to bring these onto the same line. And that's the idea. So currently it's a little bit messy, but next week we're going to look at ways that we can clean this up to make it a little bit neater. So to take this repeated code and put it somewhere separate so it keeps this kind of mess out of our template files and somewhere else. So what will happen now is our background image is applied. So this is looking okay, but what we want to do is to make it so that it actually scales with the size of our element here. So to do that, we are going to use a similar class to what we used before. So if we go to our hero, we had this class of cover. So that means the background is going to cover the size of this element. And you can see that working nicely there. And we're also going to position it on the right hand side. So if you put bg-right, I'll show you what this does. If we find background size, I believe. Let's just go into the table of styles, background position. Here we go. So what we can do is we can do background position center right. So I'm going to say BG right, and that's going to position it in the center vertically, but on the right hand side horizontally. So if we refresh that, let's see what we get. That's looking good. We're kind of getting the best part of the image. We could even try center, see how that affects things. We go to right. Yeah, let's go with, what happens if we do left? No, that's no good. So let's go with center. I think that gives us the best of the image when we make things a little bit smaller. So kind of sticking with what we did with the hero. So covering it, centering it, and these other items we don't need to worry about just yet. So what we'll do quickly is to get our content, as in our date, our title, our subhead, and our intro onto that right hand side. So given that we have a box with a width of 60%, that means we have 40% left to use. So if we say width 40, put some space in there, we're going to take all of this content here. So we're going to take our date, going to take our title, our subhead, and our intro, and put those inside that box there. Put a little bit of space so this is clearer to see. This is the idea. So we have a flex attribute, and that allows us to use our grid. We have a box with 60% width on the left hand side, takes up 100% of the viewport height. We cover the background, we center the background, and then we apply the background image directly onto the element. On the right hand side, we use the remaining width, so 40%, and we just chuck our data in there. So if I refresh this, this is what we get. Our post still needs an update, I believe. So let's just update this. Yeah, so our header is now above our content. It currently doesn't look like much at all, but we'll get this into shape very, very quickly. So we'll look at how we can do that in our next video.